Days following the Battle of Gettysburg, reporters representing countless newspapers would arrive to gather the particulars to inform their readers of these tragic events. A reporter of the Baltimore Sun on Wednesday, July 8th, would write, "In the evening of Friday, after the moon had risen, I looked over the battlefield. It was the old, sad sight of other battlefields. Men mangled and bloodied and torn, bodies without heads and heads without brains, trunks limbless, here an arm obstructing one pathway, there a leg visible in the dry fissure of a rock, some long since dead, some dying. Here on the battlefield, one sees the dreaded realities of war. I have seen in the past 2 years 13 battles. I forgot the details of the fights. I never forget the horrors of the battlefield." The reporter would detail, "Upon the battlefield in rear of the seminary, we witnessed at least as many as 500 rebel dead bodies lying in every conceivable position." These are the scenes that surrounded Gettysburg for days following the battle. With the concerns of the spread of disease, the dead were hastily buried in shallow graves. Little concern is given to identifying the remains of the fallen. The Franklin Repository newspaper of Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, noted on August 5, 1863, "A map of the battlefield has been made, which shows the exact locality of every grave." This article would suggest that the graves of the dead from the battle would have been found and documented in the summer of 1863. Today, we have the Gettysburg Elliott Burial Map, created by Simon G. Elliott. Elliott, a surveyor, would visit the Gettysburg battlefield in 1864 and, using a transit and chain, map the Gettysburg battlefield. His map would note important topographical features such as breastworks, rifle pits, and other geographic features. Elliott would also note the graves of dead Northern and Southern soldiers, as well as the location of dead horses. There are many reasons to question the authenticity of the map. These include that the map was created in 1864, months after many of the Northern dead had been interred into the National Cemetery. Also, I can't imagine dead horses still laying on the battlefield in 1864 as noted on Elliott's map. The question is, was Elliott using the map created in 1863 as a guide for his documentation of the battlefield in 1864? This we don't know. But let's pretend the Elliott map is accurate. Keep in mind, we're pretending. By using the Elliott map and combining them with current satellite imagery, we can determine where these perceived burials would have been located. However, one item that stood out was the Elliott map, and the locations of items such as buildings or tributaries were not to actual scale. By this I mean the distance between fixed points on the Elliott map vary from the same points shown on a satellite image. Therefore, the alignment between the Elliott map and the satellite image are not perfect. We only wish to give the viewer the approximate location of the burials. Due to the size of the battlefield, I have selected only a few areas to review. The Elliott map legend notes how the designated subjects were identified. A crosshatch was a Northern soldier's grave. A single line was a Confederate soldier's grave. And the location of a dead horse was identified by a comma. Elliott also noted breastworks, artillery lunettes, and rifle pits, along with some other general comments. The legend of Iverson pits and their location is one of the most discussed stories of the first day's battlefield. Brigadier General Alfred Iverson would send his brigade of North Carolinians to their demise on the afternoon of July 1st. Hidden behind a stone wall, Northern soldiers would hold their fire until Iverson's brigade was within approximately 100 yards when Northern soldiers would unleash a devastating volley. Of the approximately 1,030 men in the left three regiments, the 5th, 20th, and 23rd, only 230 men made it to safety behind the lines. Captain Robinson of the 5th North Carolina noted, "We were decimated by the terrific fire to which we were subjected and suffered losses as no other troops have sustained in this or any other war." The Elliott map does not specify the large number of dead Confederates are from Iverson's brigade. However, due to the location of the burials, we can only surmise they are mostly Iverson's dead or the Iverson pits. The Elliott map notes many burials of Northern dead south of the Chambersburg Pike, located on East McPherson Ridge. As I'd mentioned prior, why are the remains of Northern dead still buried on the battlefield when Elliott constructed his map? David Wills will note on March 14, 1864, all of the Northern dead had been interred into the National Cemetery. But again, we're pretending the Elliott map is accurate. Images of Northern dead, commonly referred to as the Harvest of Death, is a photograph recorded by Timothy O'Sullivan within days of the close of the battle. Historians have questioned the location where the images were captured. Some believe the first day's battlefield, others the second day's battlefield. To date, no definitive location has been identified. In any case, the dead are indeed Northern soldiers, easily recognized by their clothing. Today, we can approximate the location of these Northern burials in the open ground east of the Reynolds Killed marker. The afternoon fighting of July 2nd at Gettysburg proved to be the bloodiest of the 3 days. Thousands of Northern and Southern soldiers would become casualties over the fields south of Gettysburg. The famous Sherfy Peach Orchard would see heavy fighting as Southern troops would overrun Northern soldiers deployed in and around the orchard. Again, several images of the Northern dead, often discussed as being located on the first day's field, may well be laying near the peach orchard along the Emmitsburg Road, but to date the actual location has not been determined. Elliott, as elsewhere, would survey the area and record the graves of both Northern and Southern dead, as well as locations of dead horses. The burials are dispersed, with many located near the Klingel farm. Due to the sizable use of artillery in the area, the remains of dead horses dot the landscape. It's interesting that the Elliott map documents a large number of dead horses located near the Trossel farm. This area, on the afternoon of July 2nd, was defended by Captain John Bigelow's 9th Massachusetts Battery. Bigelow's battery, as noted on their monument, would lose 80 horses. Overlaying a satellite image with the Elliott map, we again can see the approximate burial locations of both Northern and Southern dead, as well as a multitude of dead horses. Another item of interest, if you believe the Elliott map, The lane leading to the Trossel farm was moved southward from its original position. The Rose Farm stands approximately 3/4 of a mile west of the summit of Little Round Top and is easily recognized when standing in the peach orchard. The farm was positioned near the center of Major General Lafayette McLaws' afternoon attack on July 2nd, with both Kershaw's and Semmes brigades passing through the farm's fields. Brigadier General Joseph Kershaw would note in his after-battle report, "In my center, front, was a stone house, and to the left of it a stone barn, both about 500 yards from our line, and on line with the crest of the orchard hill. Along the front of the orchard, and on the face looking towards the stone house, the enemy's infantry was posted." Today, the farm and its surrounding area are known for the images of dead Confederate soldiers laying in long rows. The locations of these dead were discovered by Mr. William Frazanito and published in his groundbreaking volume, Gettysburg, A Journey in Time. Elliott's map shows the graves of hundreds of Confederate dead buried near the Rose Farm. Looking carefully at the fields south and east of the farm, row after row of Confederate graves are present. If the Elliott map is accurate, this area is one of the larger burial grounds of the battlefield. The afternoon attack on July 3rd, commanded by Major General James Longstreet, would prove to be the final substantial fighting at Gettysburg. Nearly 12,000 Southerners from 3 divisions would cross a nearly mile of open ground attempting to pierce the northern battle line on Cemetery Ridge. This failed attack would result in nearly 6,000 Confederate casualties. The Springfield, Massachusetts Daily Republican newspaper would write on Wednesday, July 8, 1863, "Their courage, determination, and bravery are gone. They flee. The plain is a mass of discomforted rebels. The ground is thick with the dead. They lay thick as fallen leaves in autumn." The Delaware Gazette, Friday, July 10, 1863, noted, "The field in front of the stone wall was literally covered with dead and wounded, a large portion of whom were rebels. Where our musketry and artillery took effect, they lay in swaths as if mowed down by a scythe. This field presented a horrible sight, such as never been witnessed during the war. Not less than 1,000 dead and wounded lay in the place of not more than 4 acres. When reviewing the fields along the Emmitsburg Road, in areas crossed by the Confederate attack of July 3rd, the fields are littered with Confederate graves. The Elliott map notes the burials of over 500 Southern soldiers alone in front of the stone wall at the angle. The map also falsely denotes the spot where General Lewis Armistead was killed. Armistead would die July 5th at the Spangler Farm. Elliott's map notes a dead horse lying in the Taneytown Road in front of the Leicester House, Meade's headquarters. An image taken soon after the battle shows dead horses lying near the house. This video was a result of my trying to locate the approximate area of the Confederate burials in front of the now famous Bloody Angle. Using the Elliott map for my purposes was adequate. This process of combining the Elliott map with satellite images, as far as I'm aware, has not been done as of the date of this video. Although not perfect, this layering of images provides a visual reference of an approximate location of the burials on the Gettysburg battlefield.